Welcome to a tutorial on Pasasana. Rachel's already demonstrating the pose, but to make it a little bit easier, we've given her the foam block beneath the heels. Okay, so she's making that look really easy. So just change sides for me, Rach. She was doing the left side there, as you normally do first. Don't ask me why. It's just one of those weird anomalies that instead of right-left, you do left-right on this pose. Okay, so Pasasana means noose posture. Although it's a twist, it's more of a body knotting posture. Okay, now she's catching the wrist, but loads of people, if you just get your hands in this grip of what I call monkey grip, that works just well. Okay, now what Rachel needs to do here is just lift your bottom a tiny bit, a millimetre or two. Yep, there. That's it. And then start dropping it down, but keep the feeling of lifting. So for lots of you, once you've got the bind, to try and get the heels down, this lifting of the bottom, lifting of the pelvis, up a little bit, down a little bit, is one of the ways to go. Okay. Now, just come out of the posture for a sec. Now, if you just do the pose again, other side, okay, don't worry about getting the heels down for this purpose of the demonstration. So oftentimes, you can see how Rachel here is on the ball of the foot, and she's keeping the heels lifted. And that's absolutely fine. And now she's got the bind. Okay. And now if you raise your bottom a little bit, raise your bottom a little bit, raise your bottom a little bit. As you raise the bottom, often the heels do start to go down. And then, as you can see, now they're not. Okay, so come out of the pose. So what we're going to do is look at how we can essentially lengthen this part here, lengthen the Achilles and lengthen the calf muscles to get more motion in the ankle, because that's often, the problem here. Okay. So I'll just bring in a chair. Okay, so we've brought in a folding chair. It's a typical Iyengar yoga chair, so don't just use any old thing you find at home. Now you turn the chair upside down, which confuses some people, and then you hold on to these two parts, go for it. And then if you watch, when Rachel steps her foot in, watch, she lines up the big toe at the top, lines up the little toe at the side, outer heel comes to this part, grip tight here at the top and press down, other foot comes in here. So you make the feet totally parallel. Those of you who aren't used to working the legs very well, at first you feel like you hold on a lot with the arms, okay? Then we're not really intent on working the hamstrings here, but Rachel can start to walk down, go for it, okay? And now, at this point, you strongly press down through the balls of the feet, strongly press down through the heels. And now, this is the tricky part, you try and slowly drive the shins forward. When you drive the shins forward, at that point, you'll obviously feel more of a stretch in the belly of the calf muscle, and this region here in the Achilles starts to lengthen. Okay, so this motion here, from the top of the foot through to the shin, we've got to increase this range of motion. Now, what you often feel is there's a resistance here at the front of the ankle where the bones meet, but there's also resistance at the back. Okay, so we basically just wait here for a good few minutes. Okay, you don't have to be too intense on stretching the thighs, but obviously we want to stretch this part here. Okay. Now, by doing this, what we find is it increases this range of motion, which will make the Pasasana easier. Okay, so when you're ready, step off. Okay, so do be careful when you do this at home. What I often find with students who aren't used to it is they need to do it once, have a little moment of a rest. Okay, so just do dog pose for a moment, Rachel. As soon as you do something as simple as dog pose that you're familiar with, you'll find that you've got more space. And of course you can repeat dog pose, chair, uttanasana, dog pose, chair, uttanasana. You could repeat it as many times as you need to until you feel like this is lengthening. Okay, so now go for it, Rach. We're going to try again. Pasasana. So she goes in, she brings the armpit right around. You can allow the heels to lift, catch the hands. Okay, I'm just going to give her a tiny bit of support here. Okay, take the heels down, down, down. Just lean back more. That's it. Good. And then lower the bottom more. Yeah, you got it. Okay. Now at the moment, I can sense that if I were to let go, she's not really quite got it yet. You nearly got it? No. Never mind. So this aspect of getting the heels down is tricky. Now, just come out of the shot for a moment for a watch. So let me just try. So I'll show you when I do it. This is what I have to do. Watch. So same thing as Rachel was doing. You see how I've lifted this part? Okay. Now, once I get the bind, I lift my bottom quite a lot and the heels go down. And then I slowly start to lower the bottom. So that's the way, for me personally, I get the heels down and then I can hold it. Okay. So you see how I let myself come onto the balls of the feet. I got the bind on the balls of the feet. I had to lift up quite a lot to get the heels to come down. And then this is the tricky part. If you go back and down too quickly, of course, you fall backwards. So as I'm going down, I actually keep the essence of lifting up. Now, to slow all that down, Rachel's going to show you, or you're going to be the body now to show two different things. So go for it, come again. Okay, so you're going to have fingertips to the wall. Okay, so basically the distance from the wall is just that much, so other hand. So the distance here from the fingertips to the elbow, that distance is where the feet need to be, so you can come in a tiny bit closer. Now squat down. Okay. Now if you're doing this at home, you're sideways to the wall, you can still use a little bit of support for the heels. Okay, now bring the arm across. Are you too close, or is that all right? Yeah, that's about right. Good. So you stay on the fingertips here instead of the palms. This hand here comes up high, so you can follow this diagonal line. Okay. Now, if you watch from this side, you see she's turning here really nicely. You can see the turning on the movement of the clothing. Okay. Now, also what you'll find when you turn this side, if you're doing this at home, you'll find all the weight is on your right heel. It's almost like the left heel hasn't got any weight on it, because if you look at the body weight, it's going that way. Okay, so obviously that's fine. You feel the weight here on the right heel, but you try using this hand to bring the weight back a little bit and actually use this leg. Okay. Now, when you're doing this, what you're really now interested in is these back left ribs here coming closer to the inner right thigh there. The other thing that tends to happen when people are doing this pose, okay, so just put your head down. People start going that way. So you start getting interested in like looking at certain places, or you might be looking at where this hand is coming around, and people nearly always take the head down. So actually, if you look at where her feet are, then the pelvis directly above, and you can see everything this way tends to go that way already. So then the weight of the head has to come back. So it's like chin up, head back, and that brings the head directly above the heels once again. Okay, so this method works really well. Now, the other way we'll do it, okay, come out. Okay, we won't do both sides for now. Turn the other way. Okay, so now come forward. That's it. Take the back hand to the wall. Oh yeah, you can go that way. Okay. So no. So left hand to the wall. Yes. Okay. So again, actually, this angle is quite helpful to see. Okay. So you can see it's really obvious. So just stay as you are. Don't change anything. There's a good connection here. The weight's this time on the left heel. And you see how this knee's coming forward. That knee coming forward is indicative that there's not so much weight there. So she has to bring this back. Now you don't worry about straightening up the knees before you've got the bind, but when you're actually using hand on the wall, you can start to pay attention to this sort of thing. Okay? So now, those of you that are going to try, so lift your heels again. Okay? You use a little bit of extra support for the heels. So now if you watch, just cut the armpit right down, loop the hand around. So when you loop the hand around, you try and bring the back of the hand up around the outer thigh. Okay. Now just be on the fingertips on the back hand on the wall. You stay there. Now at this point, using your fingertips, you know you're not going to fall back. Okay. Lift your bottom a centimetre or two. Yes. Now at this point, keep the bottom lifted a tiny bit, and then now let this top hand, let it drop into the bottom hand. That's it. Catch. Okay. Actually, although it seems unnecessary to grab the wrist, the more you grab the wrist, the tighter you make it. I find holding the wrist, although it's harder, it actually helps me get onto the heels eventually. Okay? Good. Okay. Now lift your heels again. Oh. Take your heels down. Lift your bum. Okay. And then come in. So I still couldn't let go of you. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So just now squat.
Oh yeah, that's
Okay. So then the final variation of Pasasana that's worth looking at, that's much, much simpler, it's actually more like Marityasana A, so it's more like this. So just bring this arm around, okay? Other hand goes around, that's it. And then you look over the shoulder. So it's a bit like doing Marityasana A as an open twist. So if you just stay there for a sec, right? If this is Marityasana A, going forward, if I do Marityasana A as an open twist, it looks like this. So you can see me and Rachel virtually in the same pose now. But of course, Rachel's squatting and I've got one leg straight, and then do the other side. Now actually, when you do this motion, it's the same thing. You slightly lift the pelvis, you slightly lower the pelvis, and that motion there, it connects you into the legs, because otherwise sometimes people are feeling a sinking, which is okay, but you need to get this ability to lift up. So this method works really, really well. Okay, this is also the pregnant variation for Pasasana. Okay, so there you go. That's information for Pasasana that you'll hopefully find useful for your practice.